Hey, it's Morgan from Night Sky Real Estate, and I am getting on here now to go over your inspection results. So now your inspection has been done, and you're probably feeling really uncomfortable, very uncertain. Um, Inspection reports are scary. They are terrifying to read for everyone. Make sure you're talking to the inspector. And communicating with him what some of the things mean. If you feel like you need more inspections, we need to get those scheduled immediately. But what the next part entails is the amendment to address concerns. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a step-by-step look at your inspection and see what needs to be addressed. And we are going to type that up and send it to the listing agent to make sure that those are getting addressed. This can go multiple ways. The listing agent will send it to the seller, who can be like, nope, I'm not fixing any of it. And then we can walk, or we can choose to take the house as is. The seller can be like, I'll give you some money towards it. So like take some money off the list price. And then you would have to fix it when you moved in. Or the seller can agree to what you are asking for, and agree to fix it. A lot of times we'll ask for multiple things to be fixed. And what my goal is usually, and the best strategy that I use, is I'm going to ask for your major things, your main things that you want done, and then I'm going to ask for a few smaller things. And the reason I do this is a strategy because either they're going to come back at us and be like, yeah, we're not fixing everything, or they could fix everything that we've asked for. What I try to do is I don't ask for everything on the inspection. I really don't recommend that. It usually does not go over well. The reasoning with that is a lot of times the seller thinks you're being nitpicky. And if they think you're being nitpicky, then it makes them want to do even less for you. I've been on both sides of this, where I had a seller and the buyers literally sent us the inspection report and said, fix everything. And my buyer read that and was like, they can kick rocks. They can either go through with it, or they can take their earnest money deposit and walk away. And we were able to go back, and they really did want the house, and we were able to negotiate on a few of the things on the house. Another thing is on the buy side. I've had a buyer who has been like, no, I want it all fixed. I want everything fixed. And the seller's agent immediately came back and they didn't really want to fix anything. And then the important stuff, they wanted to argue with me more, because they already had set a bad, I guess, like we'd already put them in a bad mood by asking for too much. And so they were less willing to negotiate with us. So that's kind of where I try and walk a very fine line of what really needs to be fixed, what is important to you to be fixed, what is, and what can we, be like, hey, look at this inspection report and look at what we're not asking for, okay? That way they are understanding that we're not asking you to fix every little thing, but these are some major issues that we really want addressed, okay? I usually will ask for a few small things because a lot of times they will throw it in there. And it also depends on who I'm dealing with, what's the situation with the house. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into what I'm asking for when I am negotiating, but that is usually where I start at. If I'm negotiating with an investor, I will ask for much more because I know that they have the ability and the funds, and they want to keep their name good. So they're going to give us a little bit more than a regular homeowner. So when I tell you like there's so much more to negotiating, that's it. Now, the important thing is whatever our due diligence period is, whether it's 3 days, 5 days, or 7 days, that due diligence expiration date is when we have to have negotiated by. So if we decide on something and I send them an amendment to address concerns, then they have to respond back and be like yes or no, or they'll counter the amendment to address concerns. We might get it back with some stuff struck out and then initial it. So this is a few things that you can look forward to in this particular stage. One thing that I will say is, say we have a 7-day due diligence, we are 3 days into that due diligence and I send over an amendment to address concerns. We know what we want and they just sign it. There is a little part of that in there where I click that says, if they agree to this, the due diligence period ends. You no longer can back out. So that is something that you need to make sure that you are aware of and you understand completely, is if they agree to whatever we ask them to fix, your due diligence period is over. You are now locked into this contract. You cannot back out for any reason to get your earnest money back. Now, we will still should, depending on what your contract states, still have the financing and appraisal contingencies. So that is one of the things that we need to make sure we're still staying on top of. But the due diligence period, your grace period where you can back out because you don't like that there's a bald spot in the grass, that's gone. So it ends that immediately once we are agreed on what we are getting fixed. I will say I have seen and had a situation where things were not fixed by the time they were supposed to be. And that client, I ended up negotiating and they ended up walking away with 20 grand check 2 weeks after closing. They got a 20 grand check and the repairs were only $15,000. So, and that was just cash money in their pocket because the sellers did not fulfill their duties. And that's what I negotiated with them, was a $20,000 hold with the closing attorney. So there's lots of options. If you read through what and how I word things in my amendment, I'm very, very careful with my wording. You will see me use the words licensed and insured. If we want a plumber, it's gonna be licensed and insured plumber, licensed and insured electrician. That way they're not bringing some Joe Blow off the street or their uncle's, after he's had a few and he does this, he did this for 20 years, 50 years ago. I don't want them bringing in just anyone. I want them to bring in qualified professionals to do the repairs on your house, because unfortunately in the world that we live in, a lot of people will try and take advantage of it if it's not worded correctly. I also make sure that I am asking for the receipts and proof of work. So I want the receipts. Anybody can get a company nowadays to write a receipt, it seems, but I want proof of work. I'm going to need pictures. I'm going to need something signed off on saying that this is exactly what was done. It's got to be done before closing. And the last thing is, if there is a warranty, I also, because a lot of companies will warranty their work. Like if you get a roof repaired, it's usually warranted for like a year or two. Anything like that, I want to pass on to my buyer or my client. So what I am doing is I always make sure, if it'll read along the lines of, seller will provide proof of work and receipts and any warranties. So any warranty. So if there isn't one, you're not going to get it. If there is, they have to provide that information to you. So that is kind of the things that you will see in your contract. I also make sure to specifically reference in the inspection what is going to be fixed. I always make sure to use the words properly fixed. So we're not doing some like redneck engineering over here. And that is kind of just how I make sure that you are protected as my client as much as I can. I can't be there. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a plumber. I'm not an electrician. I am a real estate agent. So wording things to where they are legally binding for the seller is the best I can do. And I try to make sure that I always take care of you. And if I don't word something like that, I have spoken to you or addressed it with you as to why. Um, so that is your amendment to address concerns, kind of go over and what to expect. So if you've made it this far into the process, you are so close to being there. Once we get past these negotiations and due diligence is over, it kind of just flows. You have several weeks where you just breathe and work on getting information to your loan officer. And if everything goes well, I do try to usually move up closing as quickly as possible. That way, we can get in without any, it's less chance of anything happening in between. Not that it would, but that's kind of how it is. So congratulations on making it this far. I mean, this is incredible. You've made it past your inspection. We're going to keep moving. If you have any questions, always make sure that you text me or call me. I do not mind. You can email me. I am here for you.